Most real estate agents don't believe me when I tell them I've sold thousands of homes in the last 12, 13 years or so. Actually over 4,000 homes I've sold. And in the last 7 or so years, I've only worked 1 day a week in my real estate business. And it's because I've just taken a different approach to my business. And so I'll ask you to suspend disbelief for a minute and just be a little bit curious. Maybe this is something that you could do with your real estate business. Today, I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process, 6 phases of growth that you'll have to go through to go from struggling real estate agent to business owner. The reason I live and breathe and I'm so passionate about coaching and specifically business coaching, business coaching to an outcome that leads to time and money freedom, is because I've seen traditional success in our industry and it leads to oftentimes a business not worth owning and a life not worth living. Some real estate agents and team leaders build up their businesses on the wrong foundation and it's shaky at best. And a lot of times they're working harder as their business gets bigger because they mess some things up in the early part of their journey. So if you're at the point in your journey where you're looking for a better way to do it, make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video. I'm going to give you a free 15-minute training just for showing up. So stay tuned. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and as always, please leave me comments. I love to interact and see what you're thinking and how we can challenge each other to live a bigger and better life. So let's talk about the 6 phases of business growth. And we call this the Business Freedom Navigator. And there's a predictable path to go from struggling real estate agent, which is honestly 90% of our industry. If you look at straight statistics, they're struggling. And so we call this the start phase, all the way up to the owner phase of growth, which is where you get to 2 to 3+ million. And the business doesn't depend on you and you've built it on the right economic model. So let's talk about the start phase. This is from 0 to 100,000 of gross commission income. You may be in this phase of growth, and the reason you're watching this video is because you want to get out of this phase of growth. This is where you're working too many hours and you're not making enough money. This is where I worked 70-hour work weeks and I made $14 an hour. Each one of these phases of growth for me was a year for me to go to the next phase. So we go from the start phase to the ramp phase of the business. This is where you're 100,000 to 500,000. You're super busy. Time is not your own and you need to get administrative support. That's the only way to not want to contract away from the ramp phase. So everything's going well. You're doing the right things. Your clients are being served at a high level and you're getting referrals and you're probably putting some systems into place. The key here is to offload administrative tasks. So you have to find a way to offload the tasks that aren't dollar productive. That's the only way to go from the ramp phase to the build phase. The build phase is where things, on the one hand, get a little bit more exciting. On the other hand, you're going to be a little uncomfortable. This is where you're likely bringing in some leverage on maybe getting out of the buyer side of the business, or at the very least getting out of showing homes. This is where you can go from 500,000 to $1 million of GCI, and your hours actually come down from the ramp phase to the build phase, because at this point you've offloaded your administrative tasks, and it's likely, if you do this right, you can bring someone onto your team that would be happy to take over showing homes to your buyers. That's the way that I did it, and that's the way that we teach at Real Estate B School. Then we go from the build phase to the lead phase. This is where, again, there's another step of discomfort, learning new skills, learning how to lead people, to manage people, and to hold them accountable. And we can go from $1 million GCI to $1.5 million GCI. This is not really any more different. The team doesn't look more different. You may hire an additional virtual assistant or 2. You may hire on a buyer agent or 2 more. You're still in production, although you're probably shifting more to just doing listings on your team. So you're able to sort of lead and manage the team, hold them accountable to standards, and then you're still doing your own production with an eye toward potentially getting out of production if you choose to. Systems are the key here. The way we get from lead to exit is it's a system solution, particularly when it comes to lead generation, your marketing efforts, and your sales systems, the scripts, dialogues, the appointment setting process, and the consultation process. You can't be the only one doing these consultations and winning over clients. You've got to put a system in place to be able to do that for you. And you have to have management systems in place for the cadence with your team members, to onboard new team members, to make sure that they're successful, that the standards you put in place are being upheld by the team, and the culture of the team is doing some of the heavy lifting for you as well. So we go from $1 million, $1.5 million at the lead phase to the exit phase, which is $1.5 million to $2 million, where it's possible, if you want. Oftentimes I get critiqued for even mentioning to a real estate agent to get out of production. Like, what does that even mean? Like, how can a real estate agent not work with buyers and sellers? And so if we go through the first phases of this journey, the Business Freedom Navigator, and we do them right, and we graduate to the next level in the right way, we do the right things at the right time, exiting production is possible. It's not only possible, it's predictable. And so this is really where you can take, working 50 hours a week, $1 million to $1.5 million GCI, and go down to working 30 to 40 hours a week, because you're not working with clients directly anymore. Your major responsibilities on the team are coaching your team members and any high-level client issues. And you're likely feeding into 3 to 5 team members at this point, and you're elevating a sales leader and you're elevating an operations leader. There's a front stage of the business and a back stage of the business. Your reporting and tracking is the thing, along with your systems that are probably a little bit more dialed in from the last phase of your journey. That's what makes it possible for you to be in exit mode. And then we can go from 2 million in GCI to 3 million plus GCI, where if you choose to be a business owner, you can go from 5 days a week down to 1 day a week. That's what I did 7 years ago in my real estate business. I love being a business owner more than I love any other phase of that journey. And so for me, that's a fun game to play. How much can I get done in a single day in my real estate business? So even if you're at phase 1 and you're struggling and you're just starting and you want to ramp and build, and you have these aspirations to be able to lead and maybe exit production, and one day I might be able to be an owner of this business versus grinding it every day. Knowing how to navigate, knowing the next phase, the next step for you, and what your next right move has to be, allows you to lay the foundational, the foundations to be able to achieve that next phase of growth. If you're at your point in your journey where you are struggling to find the roadmap, and maybe you think there's a better way, you want to believe what I'm saying is true, I would encourage you to go to predictablerealestatesuccess.com, predictablerealestatesuccess.com, or click on the link below, where I'll go through in detail. In 15 minutes, I break down the key drivers and the 12 accelerators. So 4 drivers and 12 accelerators, the tools and systems that you'll need to put in place no matter what the market is for you to build a business that's foundationally strong, a business that gives you actual time and money freedom. Those are easy things to say, and they're hard to do unless you have that predictable path to success. And again, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you'll know first when a new video comes out, and make sure you leave comments. It challenges me to bring you even better content as these videos roll out. And just keep showing up and keep pushing yourself to think about your business differently. We'll see you in the next video.